Hey everybody, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. Are you guys still celebrating? I was thinking about it. Should I still be celebrating? Maybe for a little while. Put this on, do some celebrating. Thank you for waiting. We're trying to compliment and go live on Instagram as well, and Instagram was not deciding to be cooperative today. So we're going to work on that. It's the new year. Anybody excited about the new year? Anybody just breathing a sigh of relief that it is a new year? I know I am. Listen, December 2025 was a crash landing. I mean that sincerely. 2025 was a crash landing in my life. And so I have been working myself through it and insisting upon getting back to the things that matter, like community, which is what we are doing right now. And the things that matter, like family, which there really isn't anything more important than that. If you are joining for the first time, welcome. We were formerly called Make It Make Sense for years, but we're expanding, new sponsors, growth. We're going to be covering additional topics, and it was time. So we are officially the Monique Pressley Show. I'm Monique Pressley. I'm excited to be your host. It's the new year. Woo! I have no idea what was in it. Let's see. I've been waiting. I got these for my kids. They don't use them, so I'm doing it myself. Tell me where you're joining from. I'm going to be trying to go back and forth and look in the comments. I'm going to do my best to be in the comments while we're on here. But if I can't be, I'm definitely going to be looking at the comments after. And if you have topics that you care about, my producer's looking at the comments, I'm looking at the comments. We're trying to do everything that we can to cover the things that matter, because why? It's a new year. It's a new year. But are we really celebrating? Or is there so much going on? I got one more hat. It's more like a dunce cap. If you're in the comments, tell me where you're joining from, because we want to know where you are joining us from. If you found out about us on Instagram and are coming over to YouTube for the first time, please click like, click subscribe, and be a part of our community where, yes, just like our title name used to say, we're still trying to make it make sense. The things that are convoluted, the areas where we need clarity, the things, hey, Cleveland, Ohio, the things that you would like to understand better. That's what I am here to do for you to the best of my ability. And if I can't do it, I bring people on who can. I bring people on who have the answers to the questions that matter. And so we're doing that as the Monique Pressley Show now, but same information, same experts. We're going to be here daily, but we're also bringing other content. Sometimes it'll be standalone content. Sometimes it'll be interviews that I'm doing on Substack that I'm bringing over here. And a new feature will be offered and just shortly after the broadcast. I don't even know exactly how long it takes for it to be up on Spotify, but it will be. So for those of you who prefer to hear voices only and want to listen as a podcast instead of driving along and listening to YouTube, you will be able to do that also. Okay. Today is, oh, hello, LA. Okay, guys, today is January 6th, and that's not lost on me. That's not lost on me. I was listening to former Capitol Hill officer Harry Dunn discuss just some of the things that he went through, the things that his fellow officers went through, the things that they are still going through. and those who have lost their lives subsequent to January 6th, 5 years ago, when the man who is once again president of the United States sent angry mobs of people down to the U.S. Capitol in a just flat out refusal to accept the results of a Democratic election. Do y'all remember those? Are we trying to make sure we still have some of those? What you think? Is it in jeopardy? But because today is January 6th, because it is 5 years later, I do want to start today off by saying just how sorry I am for those who still deal with traumatic effects of that, and how sorry I am that one of the people who was primarily responsible for it, is once again sitting as the president of this country and finishing what he desired to do then. Aren't we seeing it? Aren't we seeing it even this year? I'm going to talk about a couple other things, but aren't we seeing this wannabe dictator? Aren't we seeing him walking out his plans? And now just recklessly, without a care in the world, because with an assist from a GOP-led Congress that does not give one damn about standing up to this president and only cares about preserving their own power, which, what's the joke? They don't have any, because once this president figured out that he didn't have to do anything or run anything by them, and that they would just roll over, he doesn't even bother consulting with them anymore about things that are squarely within the one article of the Constitution that applies directly to them. No, completely ignored. But we're watching what it means when you put someone in power who is corrupt. What is the saying? Corrupt power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that is what we are seeing. We are seeing now, with also an aide from the Supreme Court that said that the sitting president could not face charges for crimes alleged to be committed while they are in the White House. So now what Trump said prior to even being a candidate the second time, maybe even the first time, is true, right? Stand in the middle of the street, shoot somebody, and not face any consequences. Not just the minions, not just the maggot brain people who would allow for it, but zero consequences at law. So the Supreme Court has said that a sitting president is in effect above the law for whatever. You can read the decision to figure out what all their reasons were, but it doesn't hold muster, because then the only way that we can get rid of a sitting president who is committing crimes against the country, against other people, is by impeaching them. And if the Congress is wholly owned by the executive branch, then that's not an option either. What do we do about all of that? I'm going to tell you. I got some ideas. I mean, I'm sure if you've been following me any period of time, you know what those ideas are. But it's a new year, so we're going to start fresh explaining them. But as I said, my condolences to the multiple officers who took their lives after January 6th. There were others who still face PTSD, who left the line of work completely. There are the sitting members of Congress, their aides, their staff people who were brutally treated, who had crimes committed against them, assault, battery, as they ran for their lives, as they were barricading themselves indoors. I know people who were there that day. And this is a day that they will never forget. I was in town and I was telling any and everybody, I was telling my kids, stay away from DC, don't go anywhere near it, because they were already driving age. Let me think, one of them. And I was like, don't be anywhere near this. Or anybody who I could convince, I was like, this is not where you should be right now. This is not where you should be. So we remember, and we pray. We remember and we pray, but we also act. We also act. And one of the ways that we're going to have to act, wait a minute, I'm going to try to read. And thank you for all of you who are already subscribers and already support. We appreciate you, because I see someone just gave. So I want to read this comment. When Dems control Congress, they should change laws to never let a convicted felon run for office, especially president. Don't ever count on people to vote correctly. Many deplorables and racists. I hear you, LAHKTK1R. I hear you. That deserves to be on the screen. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But here's the difficulty, and we're going to talk about it. It's the last thing that I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to give you just a little bit of a heads up. The difficulty in the way that you frame it is that we now need to have penalties for people who commit crimes while they're in office. I don't know. I'm torn on whether people who have been convicted of crimes should be, for the rest of their lives, kept from certain levels of service. If there are any, then obviously, arguably, the President of the United States would be one. But career defense attorney, former public defender, I don't want anybody who has been convicted of a crime, served their time, paid their debt to society, to not be able to be fully reinstated as a citizen in this country. That is something that I believe in deeply and have for 30 years since I've been out of law school. So that matters to me. But I hear your point. I hear you. And we need to think about that. There's a lot of things that need to happen once we get this madman out of office. You guys been paying attention to what happened in Venezuela? Maduro and his wife apparently snatched out of their beds in the middle of the night. And now we're in the middle, the Venezuelans and the surrounding areas and our entire world is now rocking, bobbing, weaving a regime change, an inevitable regime change that the United States has ushered in. That we have ushered in. We meaning this country. Not that I take any ownership or you have to take any ownership of what this president does. I was listening to my dear friend Don Lemon this morning, reminding as people far right and the administration says Maduro is indicted, Maduro's wanted on charges. Maduro, horrible dictator in his office in Venezuela, it appears clearly unlawfully. He and his wife certainly for many years wanted for crimes against this country and others. But does that mean that our president gets to do the I alone can fix it? Is that what that means? When he's a convicted felon himself, I was listening to my friend Don this morning say, what if other countries decided they just want to come in here and snatch Trump and his wife out of their beds while they're trying to run for a bunker and take them to another country? I don't know if our current president has committed crimes against other countries. He's a criminal person who does criminal things, so probably more likely than not, but I don't know. But if he committed crimes against other countries, the way he's perpetrated crimes and offenses against numerous people in this country and against whole states like the state of New York, could they come and snatch him? Is that what we should be in the business of doing? Let me oh, wait a minute. I hear you. Okay, Valjean's world. Okay. I get it. But see, it's not necessarily about whether they can have them or not. I think you would probably have some people who would agree with you. Show hands in the comments if you agree. But it's about there being a rule of law. It's about following the Constitution. It's about us not having wannabe dictators in our own country who then decide they want to go ahead and be they're wannabe dictators for the world. Like, why do you think it's always Putin and all of those people, the wrongfully in office, decades in office, frankly, wealthiest people in the world? We just don't know how much money somebody like a Putin has because his money's all off the books at the highest possible level of being off the books. But it's about, in our country, having a constitution that says presidents don't get to, in and of themselves, in the executive branch, declare war and go in and commit acts of war against other countries. And we've been watching this incrementally. He's been edging and edging with all of the bombings of the boats and all of the things that they've been doing, boats and facilities, and saying it's about drugs, getting closer and closer. How many of you really think that this Maduro snatch is about drugs, about him being a world-class, notorious drug kingpin who's responsible for drugs being in our country? And there, all kinds of people have been explaining how Venezuela is not even really the gate through which all the drugs, especially like fentanyl, are entering our country. That they're not the cusp, they're not the edge. He's not the keeper of the gate. Maduro was not. I see somebody in the comments saying what it is. What's it really about? Y'all know? I see it. I agree with you, LAHK1R. I agree with you. And the reason why I agree with you exactly the way you frame it is because it is typical. It's typical for those of us. Now, I'm 55, and people who are watching this, and some of the people who I see commenting about things about Venezuela, not on here, but just as I've been watching the social media posts about what's going on in Venezuela, a lot of people have been saying, but the people are dancing in the streets, and he is a horrible drug kingpin, and et cetera, and so on. And they're not understanding, Gen Xers, even millennials, we've seen this whole show before, time and time and time again. My grandmother used to say there's nothing new under the sun. Totally and completely. Nothing new under the sun. You name the war, Iran-Contra. What's the war? What's the incursion? What's the intervention? What's the premature declaration of actual war? How many times has it been done? And at the root of it, it was money. It was another country's resources. And yes, this time it's oil. Yes, KG 8343. Yes. And it's not about American wealth. It's not about Americans being made better or enriched because of it. It's going to be Trump and his corporate business cronies who are going to be heaping wealth upon wealth upon wealth, while we all continue to pay the price. Why am I saying we pay the price? Because remember, the whole reason that those cronies in this corporate landscape in the United States are being able to gain wealth and act with complete lack of care about the consequences for the average citizen is because We are in right now the extension of the Trump 1 tax cuts for the wealthiest people in this country. And we are paying for it in the education system. We are paying for it through hundreds of thousands of government employees losing their livelihood. We are paying for it, yes, through healthcare, which is skyrocketing because this Congress did not care enough and didn't have spine enough, led by the Republican Party, to do anything to keep December 31st from happening to 20 million plus Americans who are going to either not be able to afford their health care or who are going to have it skyrocket. All of that is the backdrop for Venezuela. All of that is the backdrop for what this president is doing. He got war money. He's got strike money. He's got enter another country and usher in a regime money, but no money for people who are still having struggles with high grocery prices, high gas prices, high electric bill prices. People who now are not going to be able to afford skyrocketing health insurance. Isn't that something that one old white man could be so insecure about the first Black president of the United States and all his swag and his savvy and his brilliance and his intellect and his legacy and the fact that he was effective as an administrator for the government of the United States? Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad that he would be so hateful and not be able to let it go, like to be so insecure about it that Obamacare has to die just to spite Obama? And I mean, isn't that ridiculous? Like, President Obama's going to have health insurance. It's the people who actually voted for Trump who are going to be dying. Isn't that terrible? Pretty pitiful, actually. Let's see. Great question at CRAC 345. Is Congress going to do anything about what he's doing? I don't know. I don't know. We're watching people who used to think that Article 1 of the Constitution mattered, who used to think that the innumerable rights that were specifically reserved for the legislative body, for the House of Representatives and the Senate, they used to think that that mattered. They used to think that having the power of the purse, that's something that belongs to them. But now we see this executive branch taking budget directives from Congress when they vote and say this money is for a specific thing. They take that as like a suggestion, not a law. Their whole mentality about it is, who's gonna check me, boo? That's their whole mentality about all of it. So this Congress, this 119th Congress that we're in right now, no, I don't see that. I don't see that happening. I really don't. I really don't. Yeah, I agree. Trying to look at as many of you guys' comments as I can. I agree. Please subscribe to our channel, guys, if you haven't already. And please hit the like button. It affects the algo. We want more people to find us because we're going to be having these conversations every weekday. We're going to be having these conversations. And then we're going to be doing deep dives with people who have more information about the things that we're discussing. And we are going to, because I am going to take very seriously as I possibly can, the obligation for us to know what's happening to us, and not just to know what's happening, but to know what we can do about it. So is there anything to be done about this, Congress? Sure. if you are, especially if you are in a state that is being governed or that is being led in the House or the Senate or both by members of the Republican Party, they care about getting reelected. So you can be communicating with them directly. You can be writing, you can be emailing, you can be calling, you can be forming coalitions with your neighbors, with your town, letting them know about the things that you care about and that they're going to be held responsible. Where? The ballot box, which obviously is the last thing I'm going to talk about today. But before I do, have you guys seen this that's going back and forth between former captain astronaut, now Senator Mark Kelly, husband of former Representative Gabby Giffords, who, while she was in office, was shot and could have died and suffered and is suffering lifelong injuries. Thankfully, she has been able to achieve a greater deal of recovery than people ever thought possible, but was shot while serving as a member of Congress at an event. Her husband, who is a sitting U.S. senator, who has been in public service, he has a twin brother who've been in public service his whole life, served multiple tours, shot at as a pilot in the armed services, an astronaut, went to outer space, came back, lived to tell about it, and is now in the Senate. Have y'all seen what Pete Hegseth is trying to do? Because Senator Kelly was one of a group of members of Congress who was reminding active duty military that they do not have to follow unlawful commands, that they are only responsible for following lawful commands. And it made Trump and Company and Hegseth and Company Hegseth that the joke. Department of War. Made him so angry that Mark Kelly would say anything, would speak out, that they're threatening to demote his rank, his military rank that he earned before he retired, and thereby affect his pension. Now, he's got plenty of money, so it's not about the money. It's not about the money. But if you haven't seen what Hegseth said and Kelly's response, he did a video response, he did a written response. It's on all of his socials, where he's saying, you think you're going to scare me because I spoke and said what was right to members of who are in active duty in the military. You think you're going to scare former retired people by threatening me, threatening my rank, threatening my pension, things that I've earned. And he goes on to point out that our current president kept himself out of serving by claiming he had bone spurs. I think he did it like 4 times. I'm happy to do it. Jervy Harper 206. I respect people who serve. My dad and many of my uncles served in the military, Korean War, Vietnam, World War II, and I respect that. And we all should. So I appreciate your comment. Keep coming back. But Mark Kelly says, you're not going to scare me. You're going to scare me. You're not going to keep me from talking. Why am I bringing this up? It's not just out of respect for veterans. It's not just because it's January 6th and we watch how repeatedly this administration disrespects service. I don't even have to go back, as far as to things our current president has said about members of the military and people who served. We're watching it in real time with the things that are being said now, with the things that are being done now, with the January 6th insurrectionists. All of them being given wholesale pardons by this president. Many of them committing new crimes, back in jail or prison because they got out. And it's what you do when you let criminals go who should not be let go, who are a danger to society. They recidivate. It's recidivism, and they commit more crimes against others, and others pay for it. So disrespect for those who serve, more respect shown for criminals. But why I bring up what Captain Mark Kelly is doing and why I'm saying go and look at it and watch. Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to read the comments and keep talking. Why I agree is because, and I'm pointing you to what he said, is because he is protecting a constitutional freedom, the freedom of speech. He is exercising his freedom of speech as a citizen in the United States. One of the things that we're supposed to be free to do is criticize our own government. Another thing we're supposed to be able to do is speak the truth. Now, there are limitations on all freedoms, but he hasn't violated any of them by saying what is the law and by speaking with his own free will and using it from his platform as an elected member of Congress to share with others. And that's what we all can do. As I always say, you got a phone, you got a platform. You do. You got a whole platform right there in your phone. Whatever device you're using right now, this internet is free and full of opportunity for you to share your own thoughts, and you should. And that is protected. That is protected speech. Can you threaten others? No. Can you pretend, do false reports of criminal activity or intended criminal activity? No. There are forms of speech, forms of hate that are not permissible. But speaking your mind, speaking your free mind, absolutely. And if people, white men with money, former military, former astronaut, current US senator, with a wife who was shot while serving, if they'll attack them, they'll attack anybody. So we have to stand together. We can't be isolated. That is why community right now is so important. What else is important? Just my last thing. Yeah, y'all. I would say it's election year because it's 2026 now, but it's not an election year, is it? Any different than any other year is an election year. Every year is an election year. And for voters who are going to be active and engaged and responsible, you need to know who's on that ballot. And if nobody's doing the job the way that you want it done, you need to put yourself on the ballot. 2026 is what we're in now. The midterms are in November. That is when we will be electing members of Congress, House of Representatives, and Senate. Every single one of them who has not been doing what they're supposed to do needs to be answering to us now. This is the time. 119th Congress led by the GOP? Nope. They probably aren't going to do anything. They're not going to do anything about the healthcare rates that are exploding because they refuse to have legislation that would fix it. They're not going to do anything to try to protect bodily autonomy for women, even though we have women, especially women of color, especially Black women, who are being denied maternal services all across this country and are not close to places where they can get it, and women are dying. They're not going to do anything about the threats to or the continued harm to the Department of Education, to the Department of Labor. Not going to do anything about these declarations of war that are unlawful and unconstitutional. No, this Congress will not. And you know what else they're not going to do? They're not going to do anything to unseat the president who is responsible for all this action. But what can you do about it? Between now and November, you can be working to ensure that every available seat goes to a Democrat. That's what you can be doing. Now, I don't want to hear any of that stuff about how all the parties are the same. That's a joke. You know it's not true. We wouldn't be dealing with any of this that we're dealing with right now. The healthcare would be secure. We would have a law that protects women's bodies. Department of Education wouldn't have been gutted. All those people wouldn't have lost their jobs. Public education wouldn't be in the position where it is, where people who have children with special needs are worried about whether their kids are going to get services or not. You name it, it wouldn't be happening. Minority Business Development Association wouldn't be gutted right now. The civil division of the Department of Justice wouldn't have walked back and be retreating from all of the cases that they were pursuing. Their job is to pursue cases where there's racial discrimination all across this country. They're in retreat. They don't care. They're talking about white people discrimination. That's what they're concerned about. None of that would be happening if the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate had majority Democratic Party. And we need to have a blue wave like there ain't never been a blue wave before. We've seen some. But we need to take control of the Senate, and we need to take control of the House. We need to have the first Black man Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries. We need to have whoever they come up with in the Senate. And there are a lot of things that I just don't care about. You know, people fuss about stuff all the time. And I'm like, I don't care. Because I understand that the policies of the Democratic Party and what they want to do is what directly affects the good of not just the people that I care about, or my family, or my friends, or my community, the good of the country, the good of the millions of people who voted for the GOP and voted for Trump, foolishly voting against their own interests. I know that if the Democratic Party is in power, then we can set things on track. I don't know how long it's going to take to reverse the things that have been done. I don't know. But I know that the 120th Congress could do that if we vote in November. 119th Congress, probably not. I don't know. I don't know how much we can get done. Depends on how egregious things really get with this madman in the White House, whether any of them will step forward or not. But the 120th, the Congress that takes over after the November 2026 elections. Yep. And see, this is what I'm saying. Valjeans, we don't care. In the comments, I think AOC would be better than Hakeem. She has passion. You know what? The Speaker of the House is not about being passionate. The Speaker of the House is not even about speaking, really. It's about raising money, getting more Democrats elected, being able to have a caucus where you bring together the far right, the far left of the party and bring them all on one accord, so that when things happen, like when you look at the news and you see every single member of the House of Representatives standing behind Minority Leader Jeffries saying they all voted against this or they all voted for that, that means that everybody in the party looks to one particular person's leadership and respects it. So lots of times the people on the fringe that we really love, that are brilliant, that are talented, that are passionate speakers, that have like the most kind of extreme positions that many of us, me included, want to see happen, that's not what a speaker does. The speaker is capable of bringing all those factions together. That's what's required. That's what's required. So, passion, great. That's great. But that's like choosing your lawyer, the person who's going to represent you in the gravest things of life, because she's a really good talker. I am, but I'm a trained advocate. I'm not a trained talker. Effective communication is a part of advocacy, but knowing the law is a part of advocacy. Mediation is a part of advocacy. Respect before the judges in the tribunal is a part of advocacy. Understanding the rights of the accused, even when they go to prison, is a part of advocacy. So effectiveness in different jobs means different things, right? But I say all that to say, it ain't matter. Truly, it don't matter, y'all. Because we need it blue in order to reverse this. And you know what last thing they could do? If we really did our citizenship job and we voted and voted and voted and voted and we organized and organized and organized and we knocked on doors and we put, signs in people's yards and we showed up at our council meetings and we raised money, we donated to campaigns. You know what else they could do? Impeach the madman. Why do you think they're trying so hard to ram all this stuff down our throats in the first few months? It's because they know come November, it could be a real wrap. Not just a check on the executive branch's power or a check on this Supreme Court that has gone by the wayside through passing of laws, but a check on the madman by booting him out. He could lose his government job. Wouldn't that be an appropriate outcome? It's up to us. It's up to us. That's all I got for today. Please share if you learned anything of consequence. Please subscribe. Please support us. You can support us by supporting us here on YouTube. With your giving, you can go to our business PayPal, which is Monique Pressley TV, or our Cash App, which also is Monique Pressley TV, and support us through giving there. We're going to ramp it up. Monique Pressley Show is not for the faint of heart. These are serious times for serious people. So I'm probably not going to be where you find ways to dish about which entertainer did what or who wore what or why. Don't care, don't care, don't care. Y'all don't care. And why should you care about what you want? I'm playing. That's part of your free will too. But here, we're going to be talking about the things of consequence in every area, in health, in wellness, in lifestyle, in politics, in news. And I'm going to bring some friends along the way. So that's all I have for today. That's all that we have for today. But I'll be right back tomorrow with more. And we'll be trying, be patient with us. Better and better and better and better. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor. Until noon tomorrow, or until maybe content later today. We'll see how the news goes. But until then, y'all stay safe out there. Click the subscribe button. Don't forget, okay? Tell a friend. Don't forget. Love y'all.